Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars, and let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today. In this video, guys, I'm going to talk about the immediate short term for Bitcoin as well as the higher time frame. And the only thing we will be doing in this video is talking about the objective technical analysis. I'm not here to spread fear and say that we are now entering into a bear market. And I'm also not here to say that we are going to $150,000 by next week. I'm just going to show you everything that you need to be looking out for here over the next 24 hours or so, and nothing more. As you can see, guys, Bitcoin is clinging on to the absolute limits of this level of support on the 2-day time frame. As I said yesterday as well, I need to see a 2-day candle close below here before we can start talking about bigger moves to the downside after that. Now, I understand that we have seen a wick down below here, but we need to see a candle close below, specifically on this 2-day time frame, which is going to take another 3 hours or so, roughly speaking. So by tomorrow, I will be able to properly confirm it or not. While I understand that this may be annoying if you are new to technical analysis, I want to be very clear that the candle closes do matter, because the wicks only point out the sentiment extremes of that time period. However, the candle closes are the actual consensus of where the market thinks that candle should be closing, right? So this is very important to note, and therefore if we are closing above 107k, then literally this thing could just start to bounce back up here. Obviously right now on this 4-hour time frame, we've just been dumping like crazy, and of course we're technically still in a downtrend at the moment on these lower time frames. However, that could change rather quickly if we do start reclaiming some of those levels of support, right? Now, looking at this 1-day time frame, we haven't fully invalidated the technical uptrend for Bitcoin here. However, if by tomorrow we start closing candles below, then in tomorrow's video, I will be talking about what we should be looking for to properly confirm that we are in a technical downtrend for Bitcoin, meaning that we should be expecting further price action to the downside as well, just from a technical perspective, right? So I will talk about that in tomorrow's video. If we do end up closing the candle below 107k, stay tuned for that. And before I move on to the immediate short-term analysis for Bitcoin, I'm going to include a 10-second little cartoon here that someone made that they sent me on Twitter. So I wanted to share that community highlight with you guys as well. And then we're going to dive into the short-term analysis.
Wait, you stupid cow! The 2-day candle hasn't closed yet! We have to wait for confirmation! Oh no!
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to see more of those type of cartoons, maybe in the beginning or the end of my videos, feel free to let me know in the comments. We might include a relevant, funny cartoon here and there or something like that. Feel free to let me know. Now, diving into this immediate short term for Bitcoin, notice how right here we are starting to break this descending trend line here on the lower time frames. Notice how right here we are actually starting to break the downtrend. So this could point towards us getting at least some kind of relief from this insane bearish momentum that we've seen. However, just technically speaking, we are still just making lower lows and lower highs. So make sure to actually look at the market structure here before you start flipping insanely bullish on Bitcoin. Besides that, there isn't any bullish divergence on any of these time frames. So usually you would look for lower lows in the Bitcoin price and higher lows in the RSI momentum indicator. But right now, we are also just getting lower lows in the RSI, meaning that there is no divergence on any of these lower time frames, pointing towards us having to keep an open mind to just seeing another rollover here at some point. So in conclusion of this technical analysis section of this video, we just need to be a little bit more patient on this 2-day time frame. Besides that, if we close below 107k today, then I will talk about what we need to look for in terms of a downtrend actually technically confirming on this 1-day time frame. Besides that, we are still in a technical downtrend on this 4-hour time frame, although there is the potential of us getting a bit of relief here in the immediate short term in the form of some choppy sideways price action or potentially some bullish momentum. But even if we do end up getting the bullish momentum here, guys, be extremely careful and make sure you have some tight stop losses, especially if you're trying to long in a time where we are really just in a downtrend, right? Besides that, moving on to the Bitcoin ETF flow tables for today. Yesterday, we saw a net outflow of about $530 million out of the Bitcoin ETFs. So the trend here is starting to flip a little bit more bearish. This is another point of confluence that we need to keep an eye on, especially if we start breaking down below that 107K level and looking for a technical downtrend to start confirming as well over the next week or so when we continue to get more data coming in. Now, moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 3-day time frame. In the case that you don't know, guys, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity on this chart, to where you see the most yellow areas. Right now, in the immediate short term, we are still technically just in a downtrend. Therefore, we need to keep an eye on this 104.3K level of liquidity as a potential area of interest. However, if we now start properly breaking out above that descending trend line, then potentially we can start looking towards some upside liquidity being grabbed, for example at 107.8K and even as high as 109.5K as well. Moving on to the 1 month time frame, and this is actually starting to look pretty juicy for Bitcoin because we obviously have massive upside liquidity here, for example all the way at 113.8 as well as 126.3K. This right here tells me to keep an open mind about possibly seeing a bounce to the upside here, especially if we close above that 107K level once again. But in the case that we do end up confirming the technical downtrend for Bitcoin, that is the point where we start looking towards further liquidity to the downside being grabbed, for example at around 98K or even 93,000 as well. But for now, like I said, we have not confirmed this breakdown below 107K. And once again, I understand that that may be frustrating, but I have to stick to my principles because this is simply how I trade and what works the best for me. So I'm going to continue to do this regardless of what the market sentiment is, which is, by the way, completely in the gutter as I'm recording this video. So either way, this has been today's market update. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel with notifications on. But regardless, if you do end up doing that or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.